Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're here to talk about the 1990 movie Goodfellas. And as always, I have here with me Sylvia
Hello.
and Ramon.
Hey guys.
Sylvia, you were nice enough to recommend this movie for us to talk about it on our last episode. So I really want to hear your thought behind that. But before we start talking about movie, let's talk about what we've been watching or doing.
Stuff. No, I'm kidding. No, I did not want to go first, but I just been so excited about this movie, and then with my track record, I'll probably forget that I even watched it by the time it's my turn. My wife randomly wanted to go on a movie date the other day because she was craving some popcorn, or I guess both were. But anyway, she suggested The Fall Guy, right, with Ryan Gosling and freaking Emily Blunt. And it was just, it's a movie I wanted to watch, but I think it wasn't on my top priority to go to theaters to watch it. But showed up, sat there. What a freaking ride. It was a really good movie, really fun. Perfect date night if you like date night movie. If you like a movie with action, like good romance, good actors, like fucking lovable actors that I would love to sit in the middle of them and just be there. It was just not surprising because it was so good. I think it was just surprising because it was like solid, and it was the story and the action and just like all of it was really good. Like the chemistry between like all the actors was really, really good. And I don't know, I just remember leaving there and I'm like, I don't think I don't know. I enjoyed it more than Furiosa, but not like in a sense of like Furiosa. Like Furiosa is better, but I think I enjoyed The Fall Guy more. Like I had more fun with it. It was just a good movie to go watch. So that was like my number one like highlight. Other than that, I finally started watching One Punch Man, which now I feel stupid for not watching it in so long. Because
It's so good,
come on,
right?
Ball Guy. I'm just adding him to like the list of other Ball Guy characters that you love, like Jason Statham, like freaking Aang, like list goes on. But I'll save that because I know what we're talking about that next week. I believe in the podcast. More to come with One Punch.
I'm a little bit sad that I won't be part of that, but I definitely want to hear you talk about it, Ramon, because I knew for a fact this would be something that you would enjoy. And
Yeah.
Sylvia, you already watched it. I was thinking you hadn't seen it, so you already watched it. So you're gonna definitely be able to bring a lot to the conversation on that.
That'd be good. What about you guys?
Well, I was gonna say The Fall Guys. Are you disappointed? That's another one like Furiosa that it didn't make a lot of money in the box office, and people are surprised. Like, hey, Ryan Gosling was in Barbie last year. That made over $1 billion. Emily Blunt's very popular. So, I was shocked that movie wasn't as successful, especially because I think you can rent it to watch it 3 weeks after it came out. So, like, people like, hey, why do I go to the movie theaters when I can just, pay the $20 and watch it at home? But it just kind of sucks, right?
And I think it's like probably like the marketing. Like I know it had good marketing in the sense like I knew about it before and I kind of wanted to watch it, but I think them spinning it like, oh, it's a story about a stuntman. Like it sounds entertaining because the stuntman does incredible things, but I think some people probably didn't buy into that. They're like, why do I care about a stuntman? Like we're gonna watch like people like taking these like multiple takes of taking like these like crazy flips and stuff. But I don't just, it's not necessarily like a movie about stunt people. It is, but it's like an action packed story, and it has like Ryan Gosling has like a little secret mission. Like this is, I don't know, like I said, the plot's really well done, surprisingly, for a movie that's not trying to take itself seriously. But yeah, it sucks that people didn't go support it too much.
I want to see that. It's like on top of my list of one of those movies that
You'll love
as soon as it becomes like available, even to rent, like I would spend the $5 to rent it. Right now, if you want to watch, you gotta spend 20. So I need it to be 5. That's like my, my good, like the amount that I'm willing to waste. But yeah,
Yeah.
What about you, Sylvia? What
Honestly,
have
I
you been
haven't
doing?
seen anything about.
The
I
Fallout?
don't even know that movie. I haven't seen anything about it. I haven't seen any advertisement. I haven't seen any marketing or anything regarding it. So I had no clue until you brought it up what it was even about.
Dang. See,
So,
there's a problem, Carlos. Like,
Yeah.
Which it sounds interesting. I want to see it now since you kind of brought it up, and it's something that I think I would enjoy. It's got the action and it's got the drama, but I didn't even hear about it.
Yeah, it's got beautiful, beautiful people.
Yeah,
Yes.
something's happening where like I don't know if like in 2 years we are gonna have like the movie theaters that we're used to, but I hear that Bad Boys the fourth movie is gonna actually maybe do good this weekend. So I'm like,
Probably do
okay, well,
better.
yeah. And you know what? Actually, now that I've heard some of the reviews for it, like I kind of want to even check it out.
I mean, yeah, it's like Bad Boys. And it's just
Yeah.
funny because, like, I think that's what it is. I think it's like it takes a certain amount of risk for someone to go to the movie theaters nowadays. We were talking about the cost last time, and like you're gonna spend $30 to $50 on your whole movie night. for a sucky movie that you don't know, like I think that's where people don't want to risk it. But like Bad Boys, come on, if you like the first Bad Boys, second Bad Boys, like you're instinctively just gonna go watch it no matter what. We're talking about Rush Hour earlier. It's the same thing too. Give us a new Rush Hour movie and we're right there, no matter
right there,
what.
yeah.
See? So
front row.
I'm sure it'll do a lot better.
Well, Sylvia, I'm excited to hear what you've been talking about, especially what you've been watching, especially hopefully more Game of Thrones.
Yes, yeah. So I am on the 7th episode, I believe. So I did pause it kind of in the middle of that episode, but I'm right to the point where Ned kind of brought up to Cersei that the child is actually her and her twin brothers. Yes. And then her whole explanation of, well, he belongs to me. We were twins. And then my face was all like sideways, but then so was Ned's. And I go, yeah, I feel the same way. But it's getting really interesting. I was surprised that I'm going to pronounce her name wrong. It's the blonde, the long blonde-haired.
Cersei?
No, nope. The other one, the dragon eggs are with her.
Oh, Daenerys.
Yes, her. I was surprised that she killed her twin or her brother. I don't think it was her twin, but she was just so eager to. Yeah, I hated him too, but just her being so free and just yep, that's it. Go ahead and end him. I was shocked. I didn't think that she was capable of doing that. So far, I've been enjoying it. I'm going to continue watching, and hopefully, I'll be done with. How many episodes are there in the first season, actually?
You might be reaching the end of it. You might have like 2 more, honestly.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Plot-wise, it sounds like you're towards the end of that first one.
How do you like Ned Stark? Like, do you think he's like a strong character to like? He's obviously like one of the main leads in this whole show.
Yeah, honestly, I really like him. I feel like he's a really good fatherly figure to everybody. He seems to be very fair at the moment, dare I say, compared to everybody else. And then I also really like Jon too. Jon, and then Sam coming in. The Sam that came in reminds me of Sam from Lord of the Rings a little bit. He's just kind of like keeping it upbeat a little bit. He's his his little sidekick in a sense. I think Jon and Ned are probably my 2 favorite characters right now. And then as he refers to himself, the imp, I love him.
Oh yeah,
everything about his character I love.
Just always
Peter
Dinklage.
Peter
Dinklage.
Oh yeah. That guy became an icon after that.
Yeah, he's so funny, and I've been loving his character as well. But so far, honestly, love it. I'm surprised it took me this long to start watching Game of Thrones.
No, there's a lot of good plot lines in the future with like Ned Stark and his son that you're gonna be really surprised by. So I really can't wait for you to get to those points, because just to see how like their stories intertwine with one another later on in the season is going to be really good for you.
Yeah, and I'm excited for you because like you said some of your favorite characters, and then it's like I was like, why didn't she mention this person? And I forget that the character development is so good that people right now that you don't even pay attention to, like they're there, but you're like whatever. Later on, you're like, oh my god, my freaking favorite person. Like screw everyone else, and it's I can't wait. It's a journey. I feel like every season does a good job of like changing who your favorites are going to be, and I don't know. That's pretty.
I'm taking it in a way of season 1 is probably going to be the most amount of plot building, so I'm trying just to kind of appreciate the world that they're creating first and foremost, and kind of where the characters stand, kind of where their alliances are before I start making full judgments. But yeah, Ned so far, Ned and Jon, those are my 2.
There you go.
I would say the second season might a little bit catch you off guard, because I think that's where the world gets really expanded, and there's all these like new houses. What is this magic thing? What is this sun god? And just all I'm gonna say is like try to stick with it, because once you kind of go over that little bit of a hill, everything all of a sudden starts like working out, and you'll start understanding a lot more of like the world. But yeah, don't get too scared by the second season, because I feel like that's where I kind of freaked out a little. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also did do my homework, kind of. I watched Madam Web, and I watched Atlas.
Hey, I haven't even seen Atlas yet. Okay,
I saw Atlas too. Good, awesome.
Okay, well, you guys gonna talk about it regardless. I mean, whichever.
Well, I'm just going to say between the 2, I didn't think Madam Web was that bad.
Oh, that's bad.
I didn't think it was that bad.
So Atlas is that bad? What?
I would put Atlas above Madam Web.
Okay.
For particular reasons. I won't say why, so you can watch it and maybe get back.
Okay. Can I say something about Atlas real quick? Atlas,
go for it.
It was just like, I've seen a lot of J-Lo movies in the past, like all these movies. So like this one really, as a rom-com, Atlas really surprised me, because one of them is
what?
One of them is an AI. The other one hates AI. Will they get together? Will they not? but obviously at the end, you know what's gonna happen. Sparks are gonna fly, so you're really gonna have fun with Atlas for sure.
I didn't even know it's a
Yeah.
rom com, but he's just saying
I
mentioning
admitted a
that.
rom com in my head.
It's yeah, going into Atlas, I didn't expect anything, and then it started off being about AI, and it took me by surprise. She's never in those roles, so I
Yeah.
didn't. And maybe if there were different casts, I would have liked it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Not to say she did terribly, but I will put it above Madam Web. I didn't think Madam Web was bad though.
Yeah,
No.
no, yeah.
Ah,
It's
you guys
I
have
didn't think it was
crazy.
that bad.
it's laughable, good, man. It's funny. I don't know. It just
Hmm.
that's where I sit with it.
It's
I'm still stuck with the whole just I don't know. It's just missing the character, like the acting. It's missing the acting.
but I think her character, the whole point of
Yeah.
her character was to be like antisocial and just very just monotone,
Yeah.
kind of like how we
Yeah.
were talking about Kristen Stewart plays those characters, or Cara Delevingne. Like it was supposed to be like that. She's supposed to be weird and just non-caring and just go along with things.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny
No,
because this
well,
movie is supposed to be like a Spider-Man movie, but I consider it more as a Final Destination movie, just because most of the movie it's like her trying to save these people from something
Mhm.
horrible that's gonna happen to them. So like, so if you think about it like that, like, oh, it's a Spider-Man movie, it's Final Destination. I think it makes it more watchable.
man, those Spider-Man universe movies are a trip because I know the new Venom movie's coming out too, and I don't know how to feel
Mhm.
about that. Like, I mean, but at least like I love Tom Hardy, so at least that's a movie that I'm always like optimistic about because no matter how bad his character is, like I always love the way he acts. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm still gonna stick to like I did not personally care for Madam Web at all. But I think, but I get what you guys mean though. It was watchable. Like we both me and my wife like sat through the whole thing. We were interested. Like I know we took like a little potty break for my dog, came back in, and we still we started it right. Like if you don't
Mhm.
like the movie, you're like never mind. Let's just watch some trash TV. And I don't know. So yeah, I'll keep saying no, and you guys can keep saying that it's passable.
No, that I'm just happy that in our last episodes you were writing these down, Sylvia, and I'm actually happy that you committed to
Awesome.
actually watching and checking them out.
Mhm.
So it's really that makes
Yep, I
me.
still have notes for the other things that I'm gonna watch too, so I'm slowly but surely gonna get there.
I would
Same.
say Hot Tub Time Machine's one that you would really enjoy, just from how
It's
like a
on the list.
how it
Yeah.
actually. I think it's a funny one. You don't get a lot of good comedies now, but that one's a funny one.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean it's tough. Like if we were to talk about a comedy one, but that would be a good one for like just the plot and stuff. I don't
Mm.
know. Some of those are great, but yeah,
yeah.
that's a good one to watch next.
I mean, for me, I
What
kind of
about
mentioned to
you?
you guys, like, I watched a couple of things. I mean, I'll mention them. I won't talk about them too much, but, like, I watched the first two episodes of The Acolytes, which is kind of dumb. That's been getting hate for the wrong reasons, because obviously that's how toxic Star
Always.
Wars fans are, so it's so dumb.
Mhm.
I saw Atlas. I saw Argyle. Have you seen Argyle at all, Ramon?
I have. Yeah, I have.
Okay, I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't love it. I thought it was a movie that was trying to set up a lot of different plot twists to it, which I sort of kind of like, okay, cool. That's kind of like fun and different. And there is like two really cool action scenes towards the end that almost makes me forgive the movie for the first 45 minutes of it. But yeah, it's all right. Like I don't hate it.
Enjoy the dynamic that the like author and character play, and then especially when you get obviously I can't think of his name right now, but you get the real like art or not the real spy, not Argyle, but the real spy. And then you get Argyle and like kind of those scenes where you're going back and forth between the two, like Kevin, something Henry Cavill, and then freaking what's this other dude's name? Anyways, long story short,
Sam something. Yeah.
Rockwell,
Rock,
Sam Rockwell.
yeah.
But I really love like those scenes because it is really back and forth. Like one scene is Henry, the other scene is Sam, and it's just like I don't know, it's beautiful. Like that was like the one part that I really enjoyed.
Argo's a
But
movie
other
that
than that,
came
it's
out early in the year, Soviet didn't do good in the box office. It's an Apple movie that I think they paid for it to like get it made. So it's on Apple TV right now. Like if you want to watch it, that's where I watched
Oh,
it.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, but it's
it's
nothing that you
not
need to go out of your way to go and watch. Like no.
nah.
And then I guess the one movie that I really did enjoy that and I actually do want to talk about this, but it was First Omen, which I don't know if you actually got a chance
Oh
to check
yeah,
it out, Ramon. But
no, yeah.
it's one that I recommended that came out this year. It's on Hulu Plus or Hulu, and it's really good. Like it's based on like these classic movies. I don't know if are you familiar with any of the Omen movies, Sylvia? It's pretty much about the Antichrist, like giving birth to like the Antichrist, and all of a sudden the Antichrist is like you follow him as like a child. And there's like other movies, and I don't think I ever really get past just the first one. It's always like I watch the first one and I never really follow through with how the story continues. But they did a remake, which is a prequel to the Omen movies, and it was really good. It was really enjoyable. I really liked it. It's funny because today's 6/6/2024, but I remember back in
Two
the
plus
day.
six is six, or 2 plus 4 is 6 also.
You know what's up.
Oh, that's it. Wow. But I
See, she knew
remember.
exactly what it was. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah,
yo,
yeah. Well, I remember a couple like back in the day, back on June 2006, the Omen or the remake. They did a remake of it, and I remember seeing that on that day because obviously they were playing idea with the whole Antichrist being born on 666. So like I don't know, I sort of have an attachment to these movies, but that first Omen movie that I just saw on Hulu was really really good. Like I highly recommend it for anybody to check it
I'm
out.
surprised that I didn't jump to the opportunity to watch it, but I think I just more limited on time. And then once I got like a big span of time, of course, I had to rewatch Goodfellas.
Yeah.
So other than that, I'm like, yeah, I should probably.
It's not like there's not like jump scares. It's more like imagery that's being thrown at you that I don't think I've ever seen before. That I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Like
That's
I'm still thinking
best.
about it. Like there's a hand coming out of a body part that it shouldn't be coming out of that body part. That's like really like okay. Like I'm glad my wife is not watching this because I think she would have a little doubt.
You mean
Especially
you
like
watch Beetle?
why it was
I was gonna say, yeah.
I was telling you like don't watch it with your wife because I know your wife obviously she's like, about to give birth, so I don't think she would enjoy this movie at all. Ramon. So please do not watch. I highly
Baby
I'm
might
telling
come
you.
too early. No. No, you were saying the whole comment about a hand coming out of somewhere, and I just thought of Beetlejuice when he sticks his hand in his mouth to like have a little mohawk. Remember that part? Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny.
Anyways,
but
yeah.
I mean, let's get to it, man. Let's talk about Goodfellas because this is a movie that I felt like I could watch it in pieces, but the moment I started watching it, it's like, how could I turn this off?
You can't put it down.
You can't put it down. So, Sylvia, if you want to start, that way you can tell us your history with the movie.
Yeah. So honestly, before this podcast, we were kind of talking about the movies that I grew up with were like The Fifth Sense and Rush Hour with my dad. And I was mentioning it to a friend of mine, and then they had mentioned you would love this movie. It is about mafia, though, but I feel like you would enjoy this movie. And so they put me on, watched it, immediately loved it, and then they also recommended A Bronx Story, which we were also kind of talking about. But this movie, once I watched it for the first time, again, like you said, I could not put it down. I had to finish it all the way through. And then I think a week later, I went downstairs to my dad and I was like, we need to watch this together. I don't know if you...
Right.
He was like, oh, I've already watched this. It's an amazing movie. I'm like, why didn't you watch it with me? But yeah, really, really good. Is it like 3 hours long, I think, right? Or like
2.5.
2.5.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the longer ones for sure, but
it didn't
all
feel
of
like
it,
2.5. Yeah.
Yeah. The moment you start to realize it's a movie, it's already almost done almost. And I like how it is mostly about a true story as well. So we kind of get the viewpoint of this is actually something that did happen. And I know that his name was Henry, right? When he saw the movie, he ended up liking it so much. Apparently he saw it at a bar and he was telling everybody that it was about him to the point where they had to pull him out of witness protection.
Wait, what? That's crazy.
Yeah, he started just saying, oh, this movie is about me, and he was telling everybody he knew because he liked it so much. Obviously, the actors did such a phenomenal job with everything that they kind of were doing, in a sense, and a lot of those people that we see, those actors, are in all of the other mafia movies as well. So
yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully, it didn't ruin your guys' time by having to watch it, but
no, because it's a movie that I've definitely seen like multiple times. Especially because like growing up, it's always on TV, but you don't get it the right way because they always either cut parts or I remember the
commercial
first time
breaks.
I remember the first time the way it's meant to be watched, and I'm like, holy shit! Like I don't remember this scene. I don't remember them doing this. So obviously. This has happened to me before where I watched a movie that I used to watch like on Channel 8 or whatever growing up, and then I watch it now and I'm like, wait a minute, like that's not what I remember. I don't remember that happening. It's because obviously when we were growing up, the TV purposely edited those parts out. Yeah,
I forgot cable did censor a lot of movies. Like even if you were watching stuff, unless it was like HBO or freaking whatever back then, everything was censored. And I do forget about that because you're right. Goodfellas is a movie that was always playing in the background at one point or another, like after it came out. Okay. Like it.
And I know they said there was a lot of violence in the movie, which there is, obviously. But I was reading up on it a little bit and I took some notes. Apparently, we only see 10 people being killed in that whole movie, and people make it seem like there's a lot more going on when other movies have obviously had more people kind of passing away. Only 10 people.
No,
Oh
I didn't.
yeah, that
That's,
that
I,
that's not bad.
yeah, I didn't
when you
count it,
break
but that kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Hmm.
when you break it down like that, it makes sense because like the movie's talking about like mafia life, like the mob life, but it's
Hmm.
like you just assume that that's what's happening in every other like cutscene. It's like cutscene. I'm like, oh, someone probably
Yeah.
died during that little break, and that's probably something that
Yeah.
happened. No,
Yeah.
for me, it was like definitely like Carlos said. Like I feel like it was always playing for me in the background. Like I've seen it a couple times, like straight in a row. And then I think I've just abandoned it because it's one of those movies. Like you said, like sorry for making us watch it, but it's like I don't know. It's not just a guy thing. I think this also personal preference. Like these mob movies, Scorsese movies, like movies that just like revolve around not just the mob, but like really good acting and good stories.
Hmm.
I've always been a sucker for. Like I love a
Yeah.
story more than I do like a gimmicky, flashy Michael Bay explosion movie. Like Goodfellas was one of those that I remember probably watching it as like a little younger and not being like completely understand more. And I feel like now that I'm like getting a little older and rewatching it was a different experience altogether too. So it
Hmm.
was really enjoyable to watch it now. And I think just being also older and just being like, man, what I've done all that crazy stuff to like, that's not the
Hmm.
life that I
Yeah.
would have wanted. But you love going for the ride. Now that you're older, there's responsibilities and people die in the mafia. So it's like you're
Hmm.
like, I don't know about the risk, but if you're Ray Liotta and you want to get into that, you do your thing, man.
It,
And the acting, man, it's so
I
good.
think it's
So good.
funny because you watch this movie, and I think you also, if you watch Wolf of Wall Street, another Scorsese movie, you sort of fall in love with everything that's happening. That's like, I guess the point of this movie is like, hey, you don't want to be a mobster because at the end of the movie, you're just gonna
Yeah.
end up like, with your family in the middle of nowhere, or in Wolf of
Hmm.
Wall Street, you're gonna end up selling pants at conventions, whatever. But you just fall in love with the world. There's like, yeah, like if I had a chance, like I would do that all over again, or if I could, I would do that. And it's just because they make it seem so magical, and it just makes it seem like it's an experience that, yay, like I understand why these people did the things that they did, even though it was terrible.
And,
It's very raw. It's
yeah.
like dingy raw, which I think that's what I like about it too. Maybe it's like the lighting that they used, whatever it is, all of it just looks very like you're there, you're with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The way they filmed it was pretty good. I
Hmm.
think, and I think that's something that I forgot as well. I forgot that the story was also like not mostly about Henry, but it is kind of revolves around Henry. And I just
Hmm.
don't remember always thinking that way because, you get to the very end. And I don't know why I always cut that out of memory because rewatching it this time too, I'm like, yeah, he did survive and it's a whole thing and he's still alive. And it was just like,
Hmm.
it was a good trip, but then also just again being more analytical, just paying attention to more like those details like cinematography and everything. And it's just I don't know, it was such a good movie. And it's just literally about the mob life because it doesn't
Hmm.
have like a great like it doesn't not obviously great story, but it doesn't have like a plot of like freaking Henry's growing up to do this and his
Right.
mission is to do
It's like a
this. Like
slice of life.
it's like yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Hmm.
perfect. Yeah, a mob slice of life. Like
Hmm.
that's all he just wants to be a mobster and that's it.
No.
Like a good
And,
fella.
and out of like all of them, I always felt like Henry was like, they at least they showed him to be like the least violent one of them all, like the one that you would
Hmm.
wanna like might reason with you, the one that might tell you like, hey, don't do that or you're gonna piss them off. So it's like watching the movie, I never felt like he was like the violent type unless he was included in some of these plans. He would just go along with it, like he would have no problem
Hmm.
like burying somebody or go to the trouble of travel to Florida to collect some money. He didn't have any problems with that, but it's just kind of sucks. In reality, there was probably more to it. But I think the movie just does such a good job at being like, hey, like, if you were this kid, you understand why you would have done this. And it's like, yeah, you can be a mobster, but you don't have to be a bad mobster. You can kind of be like a good guy and people will respect you and
You
carry
could
your
be a good
mom's
mobster.
groceries.
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously you get it from the perspective of them, right? Like
Hmm.
that's why like well, I mean, I've always heard it like from dudes growing up, right? Like guys were always like highlighting these types of movies, like The Godfather, and part of it is because like people like are always like, oh, like I would have loved to live that life, right? And in general, like I think that's what it is meant to make you feel like, hey, that's a life that I could have done. Like obviously the whole like gender roles back then kind of sucks. So if you're a woman and you're thinking of like, oh, I would have loved to live that life, I'm like, would you? Because you would have been stuck being like the wife or the girlfriend, and it sucks. But obviously the way that movie was made at that time and the appeal of like the mafia, it's just for some people that's a way to live through that thought process.
I just feel like also like back then it was just so easier, like so much easier. I mean, and you kind of see that in the movie that it's like you could get away with a crime and not really be caught. Or like
Hmm.
now it's just like, and I always think I'm like, it's like
Can rob a bank.
So many cameras.
it's impossible.
Your
Yeah, it's
phone's gonna
impossible.
ping Something's gonna happen.
It's so impossible to commit a crime nowadays. That's probably like another reason why I don't go through the trouble of like, robbing a bank. So like, it's just so impossible. Like, you can't get away
That's
with
the only
anything.
reason.
Yeah, like
right?
like Ramon, when you commit a crime, don't come to me because I'm gonna tell you right now. I'll give you 10 minutes, and then I'm calling the cops and snitching on you.
Well, I would not.
Wow.
Okay,
Wow.
little rant. No, I mean, it's something that I thought about too, rewatching the movie. Right? It's like, oh, this is completely not the case anymore, and it's just, obviously we got such of like new, like we got a bunch of modern day like spy movies and stuff like that, and it's like you have to elevate the, I guess, the stakes nowadays, because if you're not a super spy, and we don't really know if those are around, but these kind of operatives that do crazy shit with technology. Back then, like you said, Carlos, just simpler, a little different, and I love it that like it was Pauly is like about the protection that he provided to the neighborhood, and that whole idea of like family within that, the Goodfellas and the mob, like it sounds great if you were like kind of part of that world already,
Have you guys, either one of you, seen The Sopranos at all? Like, just wondering.
In the beginning, forever ago.
How about you, Sylvia? Have you ever seen The Sopranos?
No, I haven't. No. It's been on my list for the longest time.
Okay. The only reason why I bring it up is because, to my surprise, when I was looking up the cast, like, what's Ray's wife's name? Oh my God, I don't have her name in front of me.
What, like her real name or?
Karen?
No, like the Karen. So Karen, I guess, like in The Sopranos, she's like big part of that show, and I never realized, like I never put it together that she was also in The Sopranos. So it was just something that, like, watching this and like I'm like, wait, she's that from The Sopranos. So it just really kind of caught me off guard, because now I know that not only did she make this movie, but then she went on to become part of like a great show that went on for many seasons, and people still talk about it today. So I was just kind of like, I was just wondering if you guys were familiar with The Sopranos, because that's also obviously like a very monster show, and that plays around with the idea of like, hey, you can't go to a Starbucks and say like, hey, you need to give me money for protection, because they're not going to understand it, because it's a corporate owned world. So it's sort of funny that when you do have these businesses that are owned by corporations, you can't just go up to them and be like, hey, you got to pay me for protection, because they're not going to do that. So it's just another reason why probably like mobsters aren't around today as they were back in the day.
No, it's gentrification. Gentrification pushed the mobs out. No, I mean, but it kind of makes sense. Like, I mean, even if you like other shows like freaking Fargo that we watch often too, like shows that talk about like mob life in different other cities, and it's like, you almost kind of do like there have to be like dated, because you don't see a lot of that now, and if there is, it's in very rural towns where like you can get away with stuff. Like John Hamm in the new Fargo, Carlos, like he was in the middle of nowhere. He was a sheriff in the middle of nowhere, and that man could get away with anything. But it's he's not in the city.
And it makes sense.
He's not having to deal with corporations, like you said. But I didn't really think about it that way. I like that.
No, it's true. When you live in a small town and everybody knows everybody, and you're the man in charge, and you're providing protection for these people, it's like, yeah, man, like what is going on in some of these like small scale towns?
Yeah, they're gonna pay if they have to. They'll pay.
Yeah. But I do like that you guys mentioned that how many people are in this movie that are in so many other things now, and it's just I don't know, like I think that was another fun thing to watch. It's like watching the movie and you're like, hey, like freaking From Home Alone, like obviously cheap, but like a bunch of other people that like in shows and things like that. And again, to me, it's always great. But Ray Liotta is just the ultimate, because this is the movie that I always like this is where I started knowing him from. And from there, like, I just never forgot that he was, like, such a good actor. The way he freaking laughs every other freaking time there's something crazy. Like, the one scene where, like, he's coming home late and the freaking Karen's mom is yelling at him. And he's, like, just turns around, walks away laughing, because he's like, I ain't dealing with this shit whatsoever.
No.
Yeah. And surprisingly enough, he almost wasn't cast. That's the whole thing. I went on a whole deep dive on this, and even Tom Cruise had a better chance than he did. They almost cast a man named Sean Penn. I think I'm pronouncing his name.
Sean Penn is freaking Ned Stark.
Okay, is he?
Yeah, I think so, right?
No, Sean Penn is from Milk. That's from Milk.
Yeah, from Milk.
Yeah,
sorry.
from Milk, yeah. So he was the one that was almost cast as Henry. The only reason Ray ended up being cast is because he was trying.
Sorry.
They only cast Ray because he kept walking up to the directors, basically telling them how much he wanted this part. Yeah. And at one point, I think he had met the actual. Oh, I forget his name. The one director.
Oh, Martin Scorsese.
Martin.
Yes. Yep. So he saw him at some film festival or whatever, and he caught up to him, but he had too many bodyguards, and he kept his cool. the whole time, and that's why he cast him, because he was like,
Oh
that's exactly how
wow.
Henry would act. He would keep his cool. He wouldn't be worried that all these like huge bodyguards are coming at him and they're yelling at him. He just kept his cool, and that's kind of what got him cast finally as Henry. And I think that was the best cast thing that they
Yeah.
could have
Yeah.
possibly
I
done.
guess
He
I
was so
guess
good.
yeah, I didn't go and look back to see what other movies like they've done before this movie because I just assumed that they were always famous or they were always, especially like Robert De
Mm,
Niro. I know
They've done
him and Martin
Taxi.
Scorsese have always worked together, so I just
hmm
figured like they had a long history. But that's really cool for you to tell me
Yeah,
that.
not Ray. And then he couldn't also speak with Henry Hill, the actual guy. He couldn't
Yeah.
call him and see how he would react. The directors just wanted him to completely make it his own. So the other cast members, I believe, would call him to ask kind of what they're supposed to do or how this character would
Oh,
interact. But he was the only one that had like zero contact with
Oh wow.
him.
Yeah.
that's
No,
cool.
yeah. I was sad to like, obviously we lost Ray Liotta a couple years back
Mm,
and I was just kind of like
yeah.
sad about that because I still feel especially because I watched him. I think I watched him in a Sopranos movie that came to HBO, and like he still looked great. Like he looked great, and he could have
hmm
still continued to make good movies. I just kind of sucks that again. I don't know the reasons why we lost him. It could have been just health reasons, but it's just like gone way too soon. Especially, I think the last one of the last movies that I saw him in was Cocaine Bear, which that movie was terrible.
He said that.
Yeah,
I thought
so
you were gonna
kind of
say freaking Wild Hogs. Remember Wild Hogs with freaking Tim Allen and stuff? They're
yeah.
John Travolta. That was a silly, goofy movie.
I
Like
remember that movie
he did a lot of
enough.
random stuff.
Yeah, he was in the
Yeah.
B movie.
Yeah,
I
the
was
I do
B.
just,
remember him in the beat because he played himself in that movie because he had
oh,
he was one of the people that had like a brand of honey and he had his face on it. So it was like Ray
oh.
Liotta's honey, and they took him to
Oh
court.
my God. Never. Wow. He's been in a lot. But like you said, he looked fantastic. He was only 67, it looks like, when he passed away. That's insane.
Well, one of the
Damn, that's still
parts that
kind of
made me
young.
laugh in the
hmm
movie is when they say his age in the movie. Like he's like, I have all this and I'm only 21. I'm like, what? I'm like,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
hmm
I'm like, you're 21, dude. You look like you're 40.
Well, even with Robert De Niro too, when you first met Jimmy, I think they said that he was supposed to be like 28. But you know what?
hmm
I still commend the movie because even though you obviously knew they were older than they were supposed to be at the youngest,
Yeah.
like they did a really good at aging them throughout the movie
They
because
did.
the whole
And
2 hours and a half, like every other like third of the movie, they just get
They
older and
looked
they
at
just
it.
so
Yeah.
distinguished. Yeah, and it's like Robert De Niro the most, obviously. Like he's the one that I remember what he looked like at the end in the movie. I was like, oh yeah, he did look pretty young, but I'm like, how
hmm
did they do that? I mean, obviously outside of just makeup, but I don't know. I did like their age progression throughout the movie. It actually made you believe that you're watching this
hmm
story told over like a few years.
yeah, and I mean, there's even today we get the memes where it's like, this is what a person that's 30 years old looks today versus like back then. You could have been 30
hmm
and you would have looked like you're 60 because it's just like back then. I don't know. I don't know what
hmm
people were drinking. It must have been all the
It's the
smoking. I don't know.
smoking.
Yeah,
It's the
Yeah.
smoking. Yeah, it's the smoking.
yeah, yeah.
I
And
mean
they
that
filmed it all in 3 months.
Oh
damn.
man,
Yeah.
that's yeah,
Fast movie.
Yeah.
yeah.
But that makes sense though. I mean that definitely was the movie more led about. It's just about the acting. I mean, great shots
hmm
again, but it's like, again, you didn't have too many practical effects, like couple gunshots here and
No, you
there,
don't gotta worry
couple
about
like
that.
hmm
break-ins and things like that. There really wasn't a lot. It was just dialogue and like some good music in there. Like, yeah, it was good.
I just hate it. Like I'm like if I was a mobster, man, I would never ride in the front of a car. If I had people behind me, it just feels like you're gonna get just shot in the back and shot in the
You
back
want to
or
be in the back
stabbed.
seat where all the gunshots are coming towards?
I want to be in the back
Yep.
seat. I don't want to have somebody behind me.
How
Yeah.
about you don't be a mobster and then you just avoid yourself that thing? If
Yeah.
anything, I was like, why didn't we play mobster enough? Because your dad used to have one of those old like freaking 80s like 70 Cadillacs or I don't even know what brand
Oh
it was, the
yeah.
car.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those, and watching this movie I'm just like, damn, we should have played more freaking mobster like game. We had a whole nice ass mobster car right there.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
The whole movie, though, I will say the moment that broke my heart was when they didn't take him back when he came back from prison because he was selling drugs and everything, and
Yeah.
they
They told
they
him
all but all those years, and they just said they gave him
three,
like a however much money, and
three
they just
grand.
said goodbye.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Yeah.
But I did appreciate that because another great part of the story that you don't think about, I guess I didn't think about in a long time, is the fact that he's technically an outsider because he is half Irish. Like him
hmm
and Jimmy are both like outsiders for that reason. And it's like,
Right.
yes, you could still like kind of prove your loyalty to the family. You could still like be like a good fella. Like you could still be part of this community. But at the end of the day, if you're not
They
from
don't.
like that
Yeah.
small town in Sicily or wherever they were from in
Mhm.
Italy, like you're just not like there. And
That
you know, it's
sucks,
funny
yeah.
because with Tommy, ultimately when he was gonna get made, like I love the concept of obviously we knew where that was going, but in general, it's like, you know, Ray, like Henry and Jimmy could have never been made because they weren't Italian, like 100%. And it plays into it, and I like that because it goes to show you like just how like committed they are to, well, I mean, obviously mafia, but like how committed, at least in the movie, they are to all those like realistic like things about family and who you belong with. Like even with obviously Tommy killed that one guy, Billy or whatever his name was in the bar.
Yeah.
Because he was made, that's literally the only reason why eventually Tommy got fucked.
Mhm.
Even though Tommy's my least favorite in the movie, and I wanted just the whole time I wanted to choke him because
Mhm.
he was always a freaking hothead, couldn't contain himself, couldn't take a joke, even though he was a funny guy. And
Mhm.
oh man, he just made me so impatient. I don't know.
Yeah.
He gave me anxiety every time he was starting to do something. I was like, "Oh, please don't."
Yeah.
Oh
But
Or when
man,
he killed Spider for no reason, he just
oh yeah, that's another guy in The Sopranos. Like he's a main
White
cast in Sopranos.
Lotus.
Yeah. Oh, and
mm,
White Lotus. Yeah, it
Yeah,
sucks, man, because you know, Robert De Niro's character really liked him because I guess he sort of found him and he was able to like kind of. I guess it's one of those things like if you find kids and you're able to like lead them to this lifestyle and they actually become like useful, it's like you're proud of them. So he sort of became like his sort of dad. So yeah, like when he got shot, like I'm like, oh man, he's actually crying, and you know he feels bad that this happened to this kid that he sort of brought it to this world.
yeah. And for what? Like fucking Tommy couldn't take a joke, and like I
I
don't know, man.
know.
The little
he
Napoleon
did it to
complex.
himself.
That's
Yeah.
what it
Yeah.
is, a Napoleon, yeah, complex, yeah.
Complex, yeah, that little man. But no, I mean, like, obviously, he's just one of those again because you see him in later in like My Cousin Vinny and these other movies too. Like, it's just I always want to think of him like My Cousin Vinny, but like I forget that Tommy was just way more like hot headed. I don't again when it happens at the end that he gets like shot finally. Like I was always rooting for that, except for obviously that's kind of what ultimately brings down Jimmy and then Henry eventually.
Right.
But
But
Yeah.
but think about the way he went out. Like I feel like that was very spiteful. Like it's like, hey, we don't just want to kill him. We want to make him believe he's gonna be a made man, be happy about it, smile. Even when
yeah,
he walked into that room, they gave him a few seconds to like react to it. So it's like they would
Mhm.
know that then when they shoot him, it would happen. And like, oh, okay, you understand what happened and why this happened. I thought that's what made it really like almost very just like evil. The idea of like how they planned it out because if they really wanted to get rid of him, they could have just done it any moment. You know,
yeah,
they didn't need
anywhere.
to do all this kind of like we're throwing you a party and stuff.
It could have been like how he got the wig guy where he just stabbed him in the back of the neck. Like that was fucked up. Like I mean,
Mhm.
obviously it was gonna be a hit, but like just that
So
move, you
annoying.
know,
Oh,
it's
that
just like
guy just had it
ah.
coming. Yeah, he was just like,
Well,
dude,
and
shut
freaking
up.
Henry would kept on telling him, it's like just quiet, like just calm down, like just be patient, like back off, and
So,
I don't
Sylvia,
know.
do you watch Rick and Morty at all, by any
No.
chance? Oh, so I'm gonna tell you right now, if you really want to understand me and Ramon, all you have to do, like, you don't have to know our lifestyle, you don't have to understand how we grew up. You just have to watch Rick and Morty, and you will understand every reference, every joke, everything that we like are get our humor from. Honestly, because I want to
My
pull up
next
a
homework assignment.
because I want to pull up like a Rick and Morty reference, but it's like, you know, they have that moment in Rick and Morty where it's like they make that guy believe that he's going towards freedom and then they shoot him in the back of the head.
Oh my
And then they make the
goodness.
chocolate or whatever out of it, out of his memories, like this feeling of like being happy and freed. And kind of what it reminded me watching.
It's like Willy Wonka with like deaths. It's like you make someone experience bliss before death, and you capture the moment of bliss before they die, and that's the flavoring of the chocolate. And it's just so fucking dark. But it's a cartoon, so they play it so like, hey, we're just gonna eat this chocolate, and
Yeah.
there's more, and then there's multiple people that are having the same process done through them. And it's anyways, Rick and Morty is a great show if you just want to see the darkness of humanity. It's just fucking fucked up. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I love how the movie started because again we were talking about like
Mhm.
what really makes a person want to become part of the mob or be in a gang or be part of the cartel. Like I remember me growing up, like obviously for me, not necessarily it wasn't mob movies first. Like for us, it was the narco movies, and you know
Yeah.
now we would call them like they're not really cartel movies, but it would be movies about like the traffickers back in the day, like in the 80s and 90s, and that was kind of like this the similarity to me that I grew up watching those movies. And I'm like, yeah, and I was living in Mexico, so it's not like a United States crazy story. It's like living in Mexico, like you know, like I had my toy guns, my freaking like machine guns, and I just remember like playing with my little trucks, and everything would be around that world, right, of what it was
Yeah.
to be a trafficker worker, and
He-
not shoot to kill, but it's like defending your like property, your territory. And I don't know, like this movie when it started and you saw Henry, like I get it because I feel like there's at least one moment if you're young and you have those influences in front of you, it could be so tempting to just be like, you know what? Why wouldn't I want to grow up like that? They sound like they have, I mean, they look like they have a great time, right? They drive nice trucks, like they do this, like they have money.
They have money, yeah.
Yeah.
And I do love the beginning of the movie because it's very much him, like not spying, but kind of like observing, like the brother of Polly, and in like the little shop, and he wants to be part of that community. And I think my biggest, most significant moment is when the dad finds out that he hasn't been going to school, beats his ass, and then they fucking beat up the mailman, so he stops delivering the mail about the school. And it's just like, damn, that was like the most mob thing they did for him as a kid before he really truly like became part of it. And that was just
the only shot that I don't believe in the whole movie is when he does get arrested, goes to court, he gets out, and then everybody's waiting for him. Then it's like, oh, you did a great job, and like everybody's there, like it almost felt like a dream. Like you were there, and you were there, and you were there, and I feel like in reality, maybe that would have happened if they would have gone back to I don't know if it was like a deli or whatever they had, the business. But I'm like, that would have never been like what would have happened in the courthouse. Like all those guys would have not been there waiting for him. But it was just kind of
outside the courthouse. No, absolutely not. Yes,
No,
you're right.
yeah.
I've never seen that scene. I'm like, wait, these are literally the people that would get incriminated if they even saw him near. Like they're trying to get Polly, and here he is outside the courthouse waiting for him, like celebrating. Yeah, it's like, hey, you didn't rat, like you didn't snitch, like fuck yeah. And then
welcome to the team.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyone else would have seen that and been like, what's going on over there, huh? Suspicious.
Or maybe they were there and they were proving to everybody, look, he's finally in the group. Watch your backs.
I mean, they had
Like
the
that, like that
judges.
too.
They would buy out the judges because even his attorney was like smile. Oh, like he had like that creepy smile at the judge. So it's like you knew that they owned that judge. So it's just kind of funny. I mean, I see it, man. I mean, like even now, if you go to other countries, like it's very easy to get away from cops just by bribing them. I mean, here in the U.S., I think just with the cameras and it's probably some parts of the country you probably can still do that. But yeah, it's just. So like bribing was big back in the day, especially because I mean, if you're making like low minimum wage, like why not? Why not take $20 to like just look the other way?
Dude, and think
let a kid go on.
Yeah, and even with the value increase, like to now, because I know the amount that the real like gang stole, like in like the final heist that they had, like that in real life translated to like modern day would have been like $4.5 million, like so much. But and in the movie it was only like 500,000 or something. It wasn't a crazy amount.
In the beginning, today, right? Like the first heist,
the last heist, like the one where Jimmy organized. And...
Well, they said that the last heist was $6 million.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Maybe it was.
Yeah, the first one.
Maybe it was the first one and then
the
now
first one was only like 400,000. Yeah.
Okay, then now it's like equivalent to like something crazy like that. But yeah, I mean, just the number of like amounts of the money that they're kind of pulling. Dude, but just that the crime was funny.
Dude, yeah, like it's like they would give out money like nothing, and it would stress me out. Like, stop giving hundreds to just the guy that opened the door and stuff like that. And then Robert De Niro's characters, I felt a lot of times like I was looking at myself because I was getting stressed out with they were buying all this like expensive things. It's like, what are you doing? Like, why are you driving a pink Cadillac when
that scene,
dude? And it was like so upsetting. Like I felt just like him, like screaming at somebody for being like, dude, we just did a crime and you're buying all these things. Like, why are you doing that?
It's like when you're back in school and you're like, I didn't do the homework, can I copy yours? And someone's like, yeah, just don't make it look the same.
Yeah.
And then you're just still showing
and it's like
the teacher like, yep, I completely copied them.
It's like, are you a fucking idiot? Like, what's
That was an amazing scene, though, when he walked into the restaurant with Karen. I think that was Karen at that point, and he was just giving people money, and he was walking in. They were all giving him his space. They brought him the table out.
When they first started dating.
And that made her fall in love with, like, sort of the lifestyle that, like, just being with this man would bring to her. And, I mean, again, I believe it. I believe why you would want to marry a mobster. And I thought Karen was great. I really liked her.
Yeah.
No, she was good. I love that she was like definitely an outsider to this whole thing. Like whether it was because she was Jewish, because obviously they played a big part in that. They talked a lot about that. But it's just but it's the whole idea of like the scene where she's with all the other mob wives and she's like, analyzing how they basically are like not dumb, but they just kind of like subdued themselves to this like I'm just a mob wife and I dress this way, like I do this and all this stuff, and she felt like an outsider. But by the end of the movie, like she's full blown mob wife, like, you know, and especially when, because at this point we're doing coke, and yeah, so they're both doing coke. Like the scene where they're freaking paranoid about the helicopter, and she gets into the car when they're doing that one delivery or pickup, and I was laughing because I'm like, wait, they're both freaking paranoid, and then I realized they were both high on coke.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Freaking helicopters kept like looking in. I don't know.
Yeah, there's so many movies where I feel like the plot of them, it's always like, hey, things are going well, and we started sending, like, starts with always like marijuana, and then eventually they get to cocaine, and that's always like the downfall. But it's funny because I've seen like 10 other movies like similar plot or shows, and like I just can never get enough of it. It's always so interesting to know that
cocaine?
Like, yeah, like, well, like these people had it, these people had everything, but then they go and they start, you know, dealing cocaine, and that's where like the downfall comes. That's when you get like the narcotics seems to be on you, and it kind of like it blows.
He started that back in jail, though, right? Or he started that whole bit, yeah.
It's no Pineapple Express and they're freaking weed and stuff like that. It's a different game once you do, and I think that's what was cool about it, that you really saw the standard. So Paulie and what he was about when he was telling Henry, like, hey, don't sell drugs, like that's stupid, like you fucking do not do that ever. And ultimately that's what got Henry kind of caught in that situation. But it was like, you know, it made sense, like it was making him a lot of money. It was something worth kind of pushing, especially when he was in jail and he felt like abandoned, but he knew that's the way that it has to be. Like, you know, yeah, like you said, so like it started in jail where he just became more entrepreneurial with that product right there, and the next thing you know, that became his whole thing. So.
One of my favorite parts in the whole movie is when they go to his apartment and they tell him how he's not able to leave Karen. Like, hey, you know, you just can't leave her. Like, you have to work this out. Like, you either have to like just go back. We'll talk to her. We'll convince her. You get changed man. And it's just like, I thought it was just so funny. Like this idea that like he can't leave her or divorce her. Like, why wouldn't he be able to? Like, I don't understand.
She's seen too much.
Appearances, yeah.
Oh my god,
also,
dude.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, even like, you know, at times, like in the past where I've had like relationship issues, I feel like any adult that I ever say like, hey, I'm dealing with this, that is their advice. Like, hey, you shouldn't leave the person. You should stick it out. And it's never like, hey, you know, if you're in a bad relationship, go ahead and run away. It's always like, no, you need to stick it out. You can't leave that person. You're stuck.
It depends on what it is, you know.
If you were married into the crime family, you would not leave the crime family.
Yeah. I think it depends on what it is that they're doing bad for you to leave, for someone to say, yeah, you absolutely need to leave them, or, oh, you know, you should just work it out.
But you know, it was funny because of that. That's the whole reason why he got arrested in Florida, because he was not meant to go to that Florida trip to collect that money from that guy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And because of the whole, hey, why don't you go to Florida and relax? That's what got him busted and going to jail. So I'm like, oh, man, at the end of the day, it was sort of Karen's fault why he ended up in jail.
It's always the woman's fault, you know?
Oh, my God. I mean, me and Ramona me and Ramona joke, we'll talk about how we once in a while get woken up with our wives holding like a knife or something to our throat for no reason, you know, like you left the toilet seat up.
my wife's a nurse, so she knows the ways of you know, getting rid of people without making
He's gonna wake up and there's an IV in his arm.
There you go. Like, oh my goodness, yeah. But she jokes about that all the time, and it's kind of funny because then, you know, I don't sit there and take it seriously, but sometimes I'm like, wait a minute, that's fucking true. Like, damn, don't piss her off. But I mean, I am the most loyal servant to my wife, so it's like, don't kill me.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. No, but I mean, talking, you know, it's a movie with like a lot. We were talking about just so many great characters, so many great actors. Not that I expect you guys to say like the most main character, but like who was like one of your favorite characters that perhaps is not like, or I mean, just in general, yeah, who was your favorite character, even if it was Henry and Polly and all of them, because it is so broad with characters, and even if they make a short appearance, I don't know, they're pretty good.
I mean, for me, it was just Robert De Niro. I think he just does an amazing job in this sort of roles, you know, like this mentor guy that you can look up to, but, you know, he's also sort of scary, and you don't know, you know, if you don't follow his plan and he gets mad at you, you're sort of nervous because is he going to take me out for no reason just because I made a comment or I just looked at him in a weird way. But I really liked his character, Ramon. And like I said, when he was just sort of like so pissed off because everybody was spending the money, I was just like, I feel you. Like, I get frustrated all the time. And, like, you know, I tell somebody like, don't do this, and then they do it. And I guess those parts of the movie really sort of like I really like the parts where like the babysitter he's like, don't do this, whatever you do, call from the payphone, and then she's like immediately calls from like the house phone, and it's just like why can't
And
people
that's
just
what got
take
him.
direction? Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, he was great.
Honestly, I loved Tommy as the character because I liked how he brought something. I had a lot of anxiety with him, but he brought something different because you always see those mafia bosses or like people that are part of that. It seems like they're trying to be more calm, more collected. They want to not get caught, and he just did not care. And I love that. He was ready for anything.
And it's like, I feel like if it wasn't the mob, like, I feel like if it wasn't the mafia, like, I think they would have killed them sooner because, like, there's a lot of other movies and shows where you have the freaking, like, wild card. And it's not always a great thing. Like, I mean, yes, they work with you and they're part of your family. Clearly, when he shot Spider, like, no one wanted that. Like, that was just a freaking stupid move. Like, yeah, I get when he killed, like, the guy, Billy or whatever at the bar, like, the other guy who was, like, the made man. That makes sense. He shouldn't have done it because it was a stupid move because he knew he was untouchable. But at the same time, like, dude, like, he fucking, like, as soon as he said at the end, like, go freaking get your shine box, like, I knew he was gonna lose it. He said, all right, I'll be back. I'll meet you here and all this stuff. But, like, I think you do need someone crazy like that you're sitting on the edge that makes you wonder, like, oh man, this guy's gonna fuck shit up. Like, he's gonna get him
the
caught.
Catalyst of everything. Yeah. He was his own catalyst, starting his own fires, and then everyone was coming together to clean them up.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that. You need
him. Have you by any chance seen Casino, Sylvia? So that's another Martin Scorsese movie that I think came right after this one and came out in 1995, and sort of like similar stuff. It's like the mob taking over Las Vegas, and you sort of get how that started with Robert De Niro's character starting at a casino and biting all these different mobsters. And that also has Joe Pesci. So in case you really enjoyed him in this movie, I highly recommend Casino because that might be.
He's a great actor.
He's a great actor.
From comedies to more serious things,
And that's another
very
movie.
Old now.
Yeah, and Casino's like another movie where it starts like, hey, this lifestyle is great, it's amazing, why wouldn't I do this? And then obviously by then they're losing it all. But yeah, highly recommend.
They need a mafia movie that's just like the mafia is great from start to finish and not have them have a downfall, I feel like.
Well, the Sopranos, The Sopranos is the go-to one if you really want to get into like a show that ran for like multiple seasons, really shows the lifestyle of being like in a mobster in early 2000s. So,
and if you want to, and if you
want
to watch
like Baby Ramon, I watched that show. That's the show that I binged.
I remember you were talking about it a lot.
So maybe that's when you should maybe give it a chance. Yeah.
Yeah. If you want modern day mafia, definitely Fargo. Fargo's a great show. Well, the movie too. The movie's great. But the shows, like every season's so good, and it always revolves around like the mafia to some degree. But it's like, the freaking the freaking Missouri, Kansas City like mafia, like the freaking up there in Minnesota mafia. Like it's a different type of like mobster show because it is the rural areas, the small towns that again nowadays, or at least in the more recent like 90s 2000s, it's just where like these supposed stories of inspiration were like taken care of. And it's like, I don't know, it's kind of cool to see not the stereotypical Italian mobster also, because that's always cool too.
I mean you don't think about it, but if I was a truck driver and I was carrying, let's go back to Fast and the Furious days, I was carrying DVDs and TVs, maybe if I tip the right guy, like, hey, I'm carrying this sort of thing in my truck, they would give me a split of that and they can take it and I'll just give them the keys. So I mean, maybe that is how it used to work back in the day, man. Like why wouldn't you sort of snitch on yourself? Like, hey, feel free to take what I have in the back. No need for Bendy sort of come and rob me.
Nope, just take it. I mean, especially if you like leave with your life. I think that's like the biggest thing. It's like nobody wanted to die. Nobody wanted to be held up. Right. So it's like, give me the money. I'll let this shit go. I don't even own it. Like, I'm not this. This is not my stuff. So take it. Yeah. Yeah, but no, I mean, like movies like this, there's definitely forget that there's a lot of good movies like The Departed, which is another Scorsese movie.
It's another one.
Just like movies are really founded on this, and they have great stories, and it's always about the characters, right? Because these people have such great personas that you're just like, you fall in love with who they are, and whether you know someone like that or not, like you don't know them in the mob, or at least I don't think you do. So it's like, I don't know, it's just a great world to like view and be a spectator for. That at least
but not be a part of.
Yeah, not be a part of. Yeah, absolutely.
Martin Scorsese makes it a point to always work with Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio. Have them two ever been in one of his movies together? Sorry. I just kind of when you said The Departed, I'm like,
Oh.
Robert De Niro was not in The Departed. Obviously, that's a big Leo movie. So just kind of wondering. But Sylvia, if you have not seen The Departed, I highly recommend The Departed even before you see Casino. I think The Departed is it's a better movie.
Oh,
Okay.
there was another Scorsese movie that I used to love, The Gangster New York. That's another freaking awesome
You know what?
movie.
I'm a little bit here. I think if I was to
You
watch
got
it
to rewatch
today
it. Yeah.
with having a drink and really paying attention from beginning to end, I think I might enjoy it more than I did the times that I did watch it back in the day. Because I think I
Yeah.
watched it like TV format, and I think that just is a terrible way to see a movie back in the 2000s.
I would suggest rewatch it. Sylvia, you said like you're not used to watching a lot of these time period movies, and this one's great because it's like New York when it first started getting settled. So you already had like your Irish, your Italian immigrants, like all this stuff, and it's like it is like gangs of New York, and it's just this beautiful again crime movie, and it kind of has to do with this too. Where, like you have Leonardo DiCaprio as a little kid who's like looking up to these mobsters, like the Butcher, and then he's just like he loves who they are, and he's also an Irish kid who wants to basically be part of the like those mob, and it's like, but just because again I love like time period movies, and I think this one just because it's we're not originally from the United States, but I love the whole idea of the American dream, and that's a movie that's all about that. Back in the day when they first started like expanding and it's beautiful. Cameron Diaz is in it, like. But it's a good movie. That's a good Scorsese movie too. Yeah,
because the Butcher. I mean, even if I don't have really strong thoughts right now on that movie, the Butcher himself, like his acting, the way he portrays himself, like that character alone. And I know that actor. He's like the kind of actor that if he's playing a role, like I'm gonna dedicate to being this character for the next 3 months, and when you address me, you're gonna address me as that character.
Method acting.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so good. Yeah, he was like Lincoln. He was in The Last of the Mohicans. Like tons of good stuff.
Yeah, maybe
there'll be
maybe there'll be a month where we just dedicate ourselves to watching these old classic movies. I really had fun with this one. I think Raul really missed out on a good one just because this is just a fun movie. It really goes back to my childhood. Kind of reminded me of maybe. Like, I don't cuss. At least I tell myself I don't cuss as much as I used to. But I feel like back in the day, just watching this movie, I'm like, is this the reason why? Like, I felt like I'm not Italian or anything, but I feel like I'm like, is this the reason why I felt like I could just say the F
about every 2 minutes there was an F bomb in that.
Yeah, like it's like the perfect way to express yourself when you're feeling just mad.
Yeah, I remember pissing off an ex-girlfriend because I was cussing way too much, and I think it might have been after watching one of these movies, and just because you're like, that's a cool guy, man. Yeah. I want to be just like Henry. I'm just want to start saying like fuck you, and then no crazy laugh, no crazy laugh. But no, yeah, Raul missed out, man. He seemed pretty excited to talk about this movie, but
because he owns it. I remember he was like, I have a copy of it, which I couldn't find. Like I went to a used DVD store to try to get a copy of this movie, and I couldn't find one, which tells you that the people that own this movie probably don't get rid of it. They're like, not this one. This one stays with me.
It's sealed in a bank vault, and it's in a bank vault with the Godfather and a bunch of other like. It's like,
yeah. And to answer your question, they were in one movie together with the same director, and it's called Killers of the Flower Moon.
Oh, that's a new one.
That's a Martin Scorsese. Yeah, that's Martin Scorsese.
It's a new one.
Oh my god, yeah. I just saw that.
Did you?
It's an Apple. Okay.
Good to know because I have Apple.
It's a movie that's Sylvia, you mentioned how like maybe only 10 people died in this movie. I think when you do watch Flowers of the Killer, whatever it's called, Killers of the Flower Moon.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
There is a lot more killings that happen. Maybe not on camera, but there's definitely people like dropping that like every 2 minutes. I'm like, God damn, like when is the FBI or the police gonna do something about it?
Yeah, right.
Because that movie's sort of about how they Native Americans came. They found land, they had oil, and they sort of became rich, and then people came in, started marrying them, and then immediately killing them off. So they were like, hey, you get married on Sunday, and by Friday you're finding the bride like dead by a gunshot. Like they weren't even creative with the way they were getting rid of their spouses. They were just straight up like found shot in front of their house for picking up the paper. And I'm like, what? Like, dude, come on, like investigate. Like I think that movie is sort of the reason why the FBI was created, because of that, like that what was happening. Like somebody, I think the president at that time, that's sort of like what started the creation of the FBI, I believe. But yeah, it's a really interesting movie. I really enjoyed it. I feel like there's definitely a lot more better Scorsese movies, but it's not a bad one, Ramon. If you or Sylvia want to check it out.
No, I forgot that even came out until Sylvia mentioned it right now. Because I'm like, wait, that's the newest one, but
And you know
The
what?
summary itself says a spree of murders fueled by oil and greed. So
there you
And,
go.
and you know what? I think if after seeing Goodfellas, if I was to see this movie like that movie next, I would really enjoy Robert De Niro's character, especially the way he handles Leonardo's character. Because Leonardo's character in that movie, he's just like a freaking idiot. It's just kind of funny.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
Trying to think of other mafia movies that would be good eventually revisiting.
Blow would be a good one.
Yeah, one of my
Johnny
favorite ones
Depp.
was the Boondock Saints. I know it's like a different type of mafia because they're like Irishmen against Russians or something like that. But that movie's crazy. That's another great
It's
one.
a cult
too.
classic, yeah. That one's
Yeah,
a cult
yeah,
classic,
Boondock Saints. Yeah, I don't. I would have to rewatch it again, but I watched that so much in college and before, and I don't know. But yeah, it's all these movies. Like that's why I think it's funny when Sylvia, when you mentioned this movie, it's like I don't know. I guess this is because maybe we call it a nerd podcast, and there's so much of stuff that we talk about. It's already like anime and really like science fiction. But in reality, it's like these are the stuff that we do need to bring into because we all love all these movies. Is this there's so much new stuff right now, and it just so happens to be like post-apocalyptic and end of the world and like AI, and I don't know. It seems like a lot of the themes lately have been about the end of the world and AI, and not a lot focusing on the mafia world. So
yeah, no.
we got to bring the mafia back.
I mean, yeah, sure.
Well, on TV, hopefully, like on TV, not in real life. But
I mean, do what you got to do to survive. So just,
I mean, we live in one of the most corrupted cities in the U.S.
I mean,
we talk about our tax bill and where that money's going.
yeah.
I think Detroit ranks above Chicago, though, right?
Yeah. Right now, probably for the longest in a while. So, but that's the great thing is Midwest got its own type of like mafias and stuff. So fun stuff.
No, yeah.
All love though. We're just talking about a movie. It's all cool.
Yeah, don't come after us. But no, this has been great, man. Sylvia, great movie choice. Glad to have done this with you. I can't wait to see if we do another one of these Martin Scorsese movies. I think this one's like definitely was a fun one. But any last thoughts, guys, before we go?
No.
Just to bring mafias back. That's it.
Bring mafia back. All right, let's leave it like that. Bring the mafia back. All right, guys. I'll talk to you guys. Bye.
Bye.